Hi, everyone. My name is John Bay. I am the CEO of STND Uranium. Today, I'm sitting beside Sean Hillacre, our VP of Exploration. We are a Canadian junior uranium exploration company focused in the Athabasca Basin, where we have 5 projects. And today, we're going to give you the technical details of those projects. So here we are today. We're on a bit of a tour right now, marketing and attending some conferences. So we're a bit more casual today, but we'd love to share our story with you. So back to you. Let's get into STND Uranium.
Sean, nice to meet you. Thank you for the introduction, John. That's great. You're right next to each other. Presumably, you're in a hotel room. I wonder if this is a saving on the corporate G&A. Perhaps you're rooming together as well, or maybe the company stretches to 2 rooms.
That's right. We've bunk beds everywhere we go.
Yeah. As my old boss used to say, it's the team that shouts together is the team that stays together. Standard uranium. The uranium market's been a really difficult space for the last 6 months. I mean, it had a golden 18 months before that, and all the valuations kind of soared. You've just finished your winter drilling program at Sundog. Probably safe to say that wasn't kind of the results you were most expecting or hoping for, but that is the nature of pre-discovery exploration, isn't it, Sean?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that was our very first program that we've done on the project. It hasn't been drilled in about 14 years. So it was a very, reconnaissance scale program, very short time window to get up there and get some drilling done. We learned a lot. We saw some fantastic rock types. And, despite that big discovery, like you said, Merlin, I mean, the rocks we're seeing, the structures, and all the technical success we had and what we're seeing there, we're really excited about. So we can't wait to get back up there.
Yeah, and I'll jump in there too, Merlin. I mean, I think the market maybe had higher expectations of what they were hoping that we were going to find. And every time it seems that we put out results from a drill program, people are expecting a high grade discovery. And I think, as our geologists know, and as most people that understand the space, making a high grade discovery is not an easy task. So what we accomplished on our first drill program at Sundog was actually pretty good. We're pretty happy with it, and we're looking forward to going back and doubling the size of it. And we've got the logistics all figured out, all our vendors, everything's looking really good for the targets we've identified for our next drill program. So we're not unhappy with it. We just, we're thinking it's pretty good.
I mean, I know I've been involved in exploration for 28, 29 years. It's a really, really tough slog. It requires efficiency, the right geology, being in the right place, and a good deal of luck as well. The luck has to play a role in there. When you, John, when you say that you're kind of planning to get back in there, is that for another winter program? Does that mean that for the summer you're going to focus on your marketing material to describe it as the flagship project, Davidson River down in the southwest?
That is correct. So we actually have 5 projects, and we'll get to those in a bit. But our flagship is our Davidson River, and we actually are getting back there to do our 4th drill program starting in about 3 weeks. Actually, mid-May, everyone will be mobilizing. We'll get back to that project, and we're super excited to be drilling that one. Yeah. As far as Sundog goes, yes, we'll be drilling that one. The next plan to drill that one will be again next winter when it's up in the far, far north of the Athabasca Basin region on Lake Athabasca. So for us to save costs, we wait for that lake to freeze over, and the government opens up ice roads, and then we can drive everything in, set up the camp, and run that camp for about 5 weeks. So it's a short window. This year we did a really small program to test everything out. Now we've got the logistics figured out. Next year we'll bring up double the amount of drillers and drill equipment and hit it a bit harder. So that's exciting for our shareholders for next winter season.
And that short winter season, is that a function of climatic conditions? So global warming, in a sense, or climate change actually reduces the window of kind of safe ice cover. Is that correct?
I wouldn't think so yet. I mean, the ice we're drilling on is 7, 8, 9 feet thick. I think it's been pretty standard for the timelines for forever of how long that lake is frozen and what your window is there.
Okay. And Sean, what's your background? What's your approach to targeting on these various prospects? Were you involved in the selection area of the 5 project areas, or have you joined the team later with the selection already done?
Yep. I mean, the company was built around Davidson River to start with. That was before I came over. My background is all in uranium in the Athabasca Basin. I cut my teeth in the space and the industry at NextGen Energy. So the southwest corner is my stomping grounds. I worked at NextGen for 5 years, did my master's in structural and economic geology on the Arrow deposit. So I've seen all these rocks a lot before, involved in the exploration process there, part of the team that took Arrow from discovery through to feasibility. So, I mean, that experience for me was invaluable to really grow my knowledge as an exploration geologist in this area of the world. Obviously we're always looking to expand our portfolio. We've been talking to other companies, looking at JV opportunities, other project acquisition. It's a hot space right now. There's a lot of land staked up in the basin. But the 5 projects we have are all very exciting for that geological and targeting aspect.
I know so you've got the East Basin project. You've got 3 projects in the East Basin. Are you going to be doing a drill program there this year?
No. So we've got those projects are ready for us to go up and do geophysics. So we have geophysics programs lined up for later this year. And the goal is to have that completed and have our all our permits and applications and First Nations agreements in place to begin a drill program in early 2023.
Yeah. So we're getting them drill ready right now. There's a little bit of historical geophysics on the properties, but we want to come in with some higher resolution surveys and really make sure we can overlay that and pick our targets wisely.
And is the I see down in the south you've done VTEM and EM. Yep. Is that the same method that you're going to be using up in the east?
Yep, exactly. So that's kind of the exploration thesis across the board in the basin. We're looking for that high grade Athabasca style uranium. VTEM, ZTEM, or whatever electromagnetic survey you choose is kind of the starting point for all of the companies up there. If we're going to find a uranium deposit in this part of the world, it's going to be associated with conductors, reactivated graphitic rock packages, structural corridors in the basement rocks, and they come up and cross-cut the Athabasca sandstones as well. So that's kind of the starting point to define those exploration corridors. And then we overlay different geophysics, gravity, resistivity, to name a couple. And where all of those kind of ingredients line up, that's how we pick our targets and prioritize those.
Could you've got a really nice, I've written it down here, slide 14 on your corporate deck. You've titled it the Clearwater Domain Mirror Theory, which took me a while to work it out as I was looking at the picture. But the Clearwater Domain is the kind of intrusive driver, the hydrothermal heat source, I take it. And the mirror theory is that it looked as if there was a kind of an anticline or kind of edge of basin feature. In plan view. And so what you're saying, what I inferred was that the geology that you see on the east, which is Arrow and Triple R, is mirrored in theory on the west.
Exactly. Can you see that screen now, Merlin?
Yes, I can. Thank you. Yeah, all good.
Yeah, so that's exactly it. There's a large regional scale fold structure coming through here. You can see all those conductors and those exploration corridors, the dark blue lines here. Like I said, that's where the uranium is going to be focused. And, those are the fluid highways, so to speak, where those uranium bearing fluids will come in, interact with the reducing graphite or sulfides, and drop out of deposits. So you can see that Arrow sits there with Triple R and Spitfire along the Patterson Lake corridor. And those are actually folded up around and through to the northwest, right through our project. And then there's another discovery north along strike called Smart Lake, of the same conductor, one of the conductors that comes down through Davidson River. So we know there's uranium endowment on the eastern fold limb over here, and we expect to see the same thing on the west side.
Is that the Patterson Lake corridor? Is that a structural corridor? So what you're effectively showing me is that the package has been folded post deformation.
Yep, and some of it's concurrent with the deformation as well. These are really long-lived, deep-seated structures. They've been reactivated several times. You can see it in the rocks and the core. Like I said, I did my master's on the structural geology of Arrow. That was kind of the meat and potatoes of the thesis. So that's a really important driving factor and controlling factor on the mineralization in this part of the world. So Arrow is completely structurally hosted. It's all in the basement rocks, and that's what we're trying to find on Davidson River. So recreate what NextGen did, from 2014 through to today.
And just on that image on the right there, you've got underneath A prime, you've got the word present day erosional surface. Does that refer to the yellow line above it or the dashed line below it?
The dashed line there. So that's actually just showing it's a cross section through there, right? So that's the Athabasca sandstone. And what we see now today, the Athabasca Basin is an erosional remnant of this basin. So we actually, all of that Athabasca sandstone has been eroded. So Davidson River actually sits just outside the current edge of the basin that we see today. So Arrow does have a little bit of Athabasca sandstone on top of it, but we don't have that over at Davidson.
Okay. I thought that's what I saw. So the Saint structure there, that looks as if it's kind of right on the edge of the kind of the basin, and then it looks as if Warrior, Bronco, and Thunderbird are all, those structural corridors are all in theory exposed, although you may have glacial till sitting on top.
Yeah, they are covered by a little bit of Devonian sandstones and then glacial overburden as well. Yeah. So our depth to basement ranges on the project from about 50 meters up to 220. So it's actually, there's a surprising amount of topography on the project for Saskatchewan. There's lots of, estuaries and river valleys and that kind of thing. So depending on where your drill hole is, you can be down in the valley. Obviously, you have a lot less of that overburden to deal with. Or if you're up on a hill, then you got to get through that as well. Okay, good.
But you don't have the Athabasca supergroup sandstones in any meaningful quantity. Good. Does that mean that the geophysics can look through the sedimentary package better? Do you have better vision and resolution on the work that you've seen so far on these structures?
Not necessarily. I mean, it's pretty consistent across, there's quite a few companies that are staking land just outside of the basin now. The surveys are, pretty much the same. It's depending on which survey you do, the depth of investigation varies, but it's not any significant, masking effect or, better or worse kind of inside or outside the basin. You just tailor your surveys to what you want to see and how deep you want to look.
You've got another slide which is kind of more zoomed in on your targets.
This one here?
Yeah, that's the one.
Mm-hmm.
So those are your 4 trends, and I see you've got the Saint trend, which looks like a little one.
Mm-hmm. When you say little, it's still about 6 kilometers, 5 or 6 kilometers in length. So these are massive corridors on a very large land package. So as you know, Merlin, a drill hole is 3 inches in wide, and you're drilling these things that are kilometers long. So these are quite lengthy corridors. Lots of blue sky of drilling to do here. Okay,
and remind me, what's your kind of drill meterage that you're looking to put into this this corner of the basin? I mean, it's the scale of these things are always huge, but what are you planning to do? What would you like to do here?
Well, that's a great question. So Sean and I were just talking the other day about the amount of drill targets we now have defined. First of all, we've got 30 drill holes into this area so far. And what we've got identified is, I think Sean was mentioning, about 125 different targets we'd like to drill over the next number of years. Now, a typical drill program can be somewhere between 10 to 20 drill holes, depending on the amount of money and the amount of drillers you go at it. So this summer, we're going to go up to start drilling again, and we anticipate would love to get at least 5,000 meters drilling in. And the depth of these holes are typically between 350 to 450 meters, depending on the topography of what we're drilling into.
So just I mean, let's say you've got 125 targets. You've got let's call it, so you've got 12 and a half holes. That's 1 hole for 10% of your targets, or you choose your top 5% of your targets and you put 2 holes in. I mean, you've got a kind of asset allocation challenge here, don't you? So let's just talk about your top 5 targets. How do you select those?
Sure, great question. I'll let Sean take that.
Yeah, so we do everything in 3D. Now all of our drill targeting, modeling, as geologists in this day and age, we're really fortunate to have all these tools at our fingertips that we can use to help us drill in the right spots. So like I was saying, you know, where all of these ingredients kind of line up geophysically, these are blind deposits. There's not, you know, exposure at surface. So we need to get out there and we need to drill. That's how we're going to find something. So we plan everything in 3D. And, you know, like you said, it's a little bit of a challenge to prioritize, but there's so much runway on this project that we want to drill. We just love to get up there and just continue drilling forever. Obviously, things change on the fly too. So we prioritize everything. We target everything in 3D, and then we go through and pick, like you said, like our top 5% of those targets, and that's what we go drill first. We want to expedite a discovery on the project, obviously, and then, you know, depending on what we're seeing as we drill, we can easily, you know, adjust those targets, plan new holes, follow-up holes immediately. If we get into something interesting, then, you know, we'll keep drilling. We'll drill up dip, down dip, step along strike, and we can kind of readjust and follow up on what we're seeing live, so to speak, in the field while we're up there. So it's pretty slick.
On those 4 structures, is there one that's jumping out with better indicators? What was the? Yeah. I don't want to oversimplify the kind of Arrow deposit, but since you worked there, you know, what are the key features that you really look for? What are the hooks that you think, you know, that was an indication of something critical?
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. That's exactly it, right? So like I said, I've seen these rocks. I know what to look for. I've cut my teeth and spent my entire career looking for this stuff, and right across the street. So that was what we wanted to immediately start to prove out with that mirror theory is, are we seeing the same basement rock types and formations on our project? Are we seeing the same structures? Are they reactivated? Are they graphitic? You know, kind of checking all these boxes and looking for the smoke to the proverbial fire we're looking for. So that's exactly what we're doing. We're seeing same basement rocks. We're in the same domain, the Tulson domain down there. And the biggest thing that we want to see is the structure and the alteration. So we haven't got into, you know, we know what we want to see as far as like massive clay alteration, dravite. There's a lot of very specific ones that we're looking for. But the major thing is these reactivated graphitic structures and sulfidic structures as well. And that's what we're seeing. So we're seeing these stacked reactivated shear zones in the basement rocks, steeply dipping. And you can, just looking at them, they're full of graphite. It's been remobilized, and there's lots of brecciation and brittle faulting, semi-brittle faulting as well, overprinting those ductile structures. So that's what we're looking for, is where these things have been reactivated and opened up for fluid flow. So we're seeing. Are you looking for kind of the thickness? Is that a key thing? Is that you've got lots and lots of vein density over a wide area, or do you look for actually a compression, not a compression, but a concentration of veining and alteration in a narrower zone? You know, what gets you thinking, that's the good bit? Is it lots of veining over a dispersed difference, which kind of shows you kind of you've got, I don't know, dilational kind of space creation, or is it intensity, concentration of fluid flow that would enable enrichment over time in one contained space? Yeah, a bit of both. I mean, that's what we look for. We look for that damage zone, like you kind of described there. So that's what we really like to see, and that's what we saw at Arrow, right? When you start drilling into the basement rocks, you can't really tell that you're close to something, and then you start to get a little deeper and you start to get into that damage zone where you see an increase of fault gouge, clay alteration, veining, like you said, quartz veins coming in and opening up, and then you start to really get into these larger structures that are several meters thick. So the shear zones themselves are, you know, on the scale of between 1 to maybe 10 meters thick. And then we also do oriented drill core as well, so we can plot up the structures in 3D, see which way things are going to follow up and understand the system better. And so we, over at Arrow, we'd pop through, 3 or 4 of these different shear zones, all kind of stacked and dipping the same way. And that's what we want to see. So we're seeing that, Southeast Bronco looks super good. We have some rock photos in our presentation there of those graphitic structures that have been reactivated that we saw at Bronco last summer. really excited to go back and follow up on that. And then San Jose Southeast Warrior, and then Thunderbird hasn't even been touched yet. We haven't even seen the basement rocks there yet. So really excited to go see what that corridor holds as well, because it's super conductive and it's like 20 kilometers long. So
if you, I'm just kind of just throwing out numbers. If you've got a 5,000 meter drill program this year, is that kind of the order of magnitude that you're looking at, John? Is that 10 to 20 holes at 400 meters?
Yeah, we'd like to be conservative in the numbers we're going to put out. We've typically, the last two programs, we've put out numbers and haven't hit those, and we've been sort of smacked by the market for that. So look, we understand, we can understand investors, wanting to see us get more and more meters, and we're going to do that. This year, we've got a drill company called Base, and they are actually they've actually worked in this region before. They actually their head guy Brady Stokes was with Aggressive Drilling, and Sean's worked with him at NextGen for many years. And the ground that we're drilling in this region is extremely technical and difficult to drill. So having competent drillers is crucial. And we know we're very confident with the drillers we have working with us this summer, and we're really excited to get them to site and get them drilling away. They proved themselves beautifully up at Sundog. They're going to come down to Davidson River, and we're going to drill. We'll start with 5,000 meters, and we'll see how things go. If we get into something really exciting, we know the market's going to react to that, and we'll be able to continue and really push it from there.
And the ground is technical because of the fault gouges, because of the shearing and the clay alteration. Is it very friable?
It is, yep. I mean, the basement rocks are pretty straightforward to drill. You do really get those rheology contrasts. You go through really hard quartz-rich rocks in the wall rocks, and then once you get into those structures with the graphite and the clay, it's a lot softer, obviously. But the main challenge with drilling there is actually casing the drill hole through that unconsolidated overburden, right?
Yeah.
So that's where things get a bit dodgy if you don't have the finesse on the sticks to really, get through that successfully. So, we ran into a bit of trouble with some guys last summer that just hadn't done it before, right? So we know that, like John said, we have a lot of the guys that have actually done it for years in this part of the world. So we're really confident that they're going to be able to come up and get it done effectively for us. So that's the main challenge in this area, is where you have 100 or 200 meters of this overburden and sandstones you need to get through before we get to the basement that we're interested in.
So did you not drill what you wanted to drill last year? We curtailed in your drill meters?
We were actually. We had our drill company had several issues. One of them being inexperienced in that region, and they lost several holes. And the other one was they didn't have enough manpower. They thought they had enough drillers to work with us, and then as the program went on, they lost bodies, and they couldn't keep us with enough drillers to keep the program going. So it really hampered our drilling execution last year, and it was extremely frustrating for me as a CEO and for all our geologists who were stuck waiting for drillers to show up to do the work. So this, you can imagine the amount of staffing issues that companies are facing just because of huge demand for drill companies. It was terrible last year. This year we've got this worked out, and we're really happy with the crew that's working with us, and we can't wait to be up there and really show the investment world that we actually do know what we're doing, and we've got a great drill company, and we're going to crush this summer.
Yeah. That being said, I just want to say, despite the technical challenges of just getting holes done, the results and technical success we had last summer were the best. So we've seen the best looking structures and drilled some of the best holes that we've seen so far to date on the project. So despite not getting, the amount of meters we wanted to last summer, the rock packages and structures we were seeing and the technical successes of the holes we did complete have us all really excited. And so, best technical success so far on the project. So
could you just pop up that the four trends again, please, that one slide, and just could you with your mouse show me where the most of the drilling has gone and where you're going to be. So the historic drilling to date, how many meters do you think have gone into these four trends so far?
Yep. So this map here actually shows all the drill holes. So the first program, we concentrated on Warrior, some of our highest priority targets in here. And then we've since, in our second program, we completed more on Warrior, some follow-up holes, first hole on Saint, and then last summer we drilled more on Saint, more on Warrior, and Bronco for the first time. Like I said, Thunderbird's been untouched. There is a hole here, but unfortunately that one was lost before we got to our basement rocks. So we still don't know what that looks like here. So we're really excited to get up here. And so some of these, Merlin, these structures here was what I was talking about. So you can see all these dark colored ones here. They're pumped full of remobilized graphite. You can see the clay alteration here, the hematite, and just how these shear zones are reactivated. You got some graphitic gouge in here, quartz brecciation, cross-cutting that, ductile shear zones. So really interesting structural geology happening here. And these are the rocks that we're going to find uranium associated with in this part of the area. So this is what we're really looking for. And like I was saying, this is some of the best looking rocks that we've seen so far. And we drilled these last summer. So they're down here.
On there, sorry, on the map, on the plan view, I can see two holes, one in the middle of Bronco and the one on Thunderbird, which don't seem to have been drilled on coincident anomalies. It's just kind of they're just in the conductive corridor. They haven't gone for the a lot of your drilling it seems to be on coincident anomalies, but those two don't. The one in Thunderbird and the central one on that one, Bronco.
Yeah, so this is a stylized map for the presentation. So there's some fine details in here that you can't really see, but there's cross-cutting faults here coming through, going northeast, southwest that cross-cut the corridors themselves, which is something we're looking for. And so there actually is coincident anomalies here. This map just doesn't show it that well. So we'll have to take a note of that and tune it up.
No. It wasn't. It was just my idle curiosity, rather than an implicit criticism, not at all. But could you just show me where you've got the best results on this map? Where are the most exciting areas? You said southwest, Bronco, southeast, southeast. Yeah.
These three holes were some of the best holes that we've drilled so far. This hole actually down on Warrior here. Super interesting as well. Really good structure and some alteration. That's some of the pictures in there as well. And then, Thunderbird's been untouched. So kind of down in this area, well, every hole on Bronco has been exciting. And then, down in kind of southeast Warrior as well. Some hot pegmatites up here on Saint as well. And these holes look like they're close together, but again, look at the scale bar. They're not. Boats. And, there's so much to test even in between, kind of where these holes are. So a lot of these holes are, 500 meters to a kilometer step outs along strike. So really aggressive to test those coincident anomalies first, see what we find, and then kind of infill from there and follow up from there as well. Looking at the geochemistry that we model in 3D as well. Where are we seeing anomalies? For example, there's a big boron anomaly in the hanging wall of Warrior, which is really interesting. Boron is a pretty, it's a pathfinder element for uranium that's used quite a bit. So things like that help us target and point us in the right direction.
Thank you very much. Could you drop the screen again?
You bet.
So far, you've got all the indications of structure. You've got the graphitic shales. You've got the stacked shear zones. What amount of uranium over what kind of widths would you say would get the champagne bottle opened?
Yeah.
What thickness you call up the directors and say, come on, you've all got to get down to site because this is serious?
Yeah, good question. I mean, it's we're looking for the next Arrow deposit, right? We want to find something that's world-class tier 1 deposit like Arrow. When we first started getting into Arrow, we elevated radioactivity over several meters. We kind of clipped the edge of it to start. And then once we've kind of kept stepping out along strike and we eventually found the high-grade cores, that's where the champagne really gets cracking for sure. So that's what we'd love to see is, high grade uranium. That's as soon as we get into some high grade stuff, forward-looking statement, of course, that's when we get really excited. So, we want to see elevated radioactivity concentrated in the structures. That's the main thing associated with the alteration. So we're going to be really happy and excited as soon as we get into, anything of notable thickness over a couple meters, or, tens of meters would be fantastic, right? So, and
what do you mean by elevated radioactivity? Do you
yes.
think in ppm or CPS or
CPS? We also have gamma probe we put down the hole after every hole is completed, and there's some calculations you can do that give you equivalent grade. So it gives us a really, that's a nice thing about uranium is, you don't need to wait for the assay lab necessarily. Yeah. You've got a pretty good idea if you're into something exciting before you get the results back even. So yeah, elevated radioactivity that I'm talking about is in counts per second. When we're in the field, we get the drill core from the drill into the shack and we run our scintillometer over it. And, that thing starts screaming and we start jumping up and down. That's
when you say screaming, does that mean it's kind of 500 CPS counts per second or?
Yeah, I mean, anything over 300 counts per second is, typically what exploration companies in the basin will call elevated. So, background radioactivity ranges from like 50 to maybe 120, that kind of thing. So kind of double background. We call anything over 300 counts per second elevated or, of interest. So if we're into the thousands, or even you hear the term off scale, in the tens of thousands, and then the scintillometer maxes out at 65,535. So there's a lot of that stuff. That's what we saw at Arrow in the high grade cores. That would be fantastic. So for reference to like at surface at Sundog, we're seeing on the scintillometer 30,000, 50,000 counts right at surface. That's what we want to see in the drill core at Davidson too.
And is there a straight line relation between CPS and ppm, parts per million, counts per second, and parts per million?
It's like I said, it can give you a good idea. There's like some back of the napkin calculations you can kind of do to kind of guess, but we never, we don't want to guess. Obviously, we'll take it to the lab and we can release counts per second or the gamma profiles from the drill holes. That's all legitimate and worth getting excited over. But there's no straight across calculation where it's like, okay, it's 5,000 counts per second. That means it's this grade.
But presumably all the Athabasca Basin companies, all your peer group will read each other's news releases. And when they see CPS above 300, above 500 into the thousands, they all go, they're onto something.
Exactly. Yeah. So like I said, it gives you a really good idea, especially when, you've been in the industry for a long time. You can read those news releases and you can be like, okay, no, that's exciting, and it gives you a really good idea. So you're absolutely right.
Great. So John, just kind of from the kind of the top down, you're focused on getting the geophysics done from the three projects in the east. There's kind of a budget allocated to that and a timeline. You're making sure that the technical team can do that in good order, and that also Sean and the drillers are able to kind of advance the projects in Davidson River, and kind of planning long term to re-enter into Sundog in the following year. Are those the kind of the main moving objects on your chessboard?
When we planned out 2022, the goal was we had 5 projects, and all 5 projects are going to get worked on this year, which is a first for our company. So we started off the year going after Sundog, getting up there, getting our initial program done on Sundog, which was a very good technical and logistical success. Pretty happy about that. The next phase was get over to Davidson River as soon as we can, get in there, get the crews ready, and start drilling in mid-May. We're going to be drilling at Davidson throughout the summer, which is exciting, with 2 drill rigs going with a very good drilling company. And then on the back end of the summer, we're going to get up to the eastern side to our 3 projects, and we're going to get the geophysics done there and get everything lined up so we'll be able to drill that going into 2023. So based on what we've got planned for 2022, 2023 will be even bigger and better than this year. And, where does that leave us as far as, finances go? Look, these things all take time and they cost money. And we've got to continually, as an exploration company, as you know, we're constantly raising money and allocating funds to the right projects. But at the same time, not trying to dilute our shareholders too much. So we're looking to really prioritize where those funds are spent and trying to really engage with the right type of shareholders that we know are going to be long-term with us and understand our vision for where we want to go with this. And at the same time, we're also looking at other partners in Canada and in the US for some other projects that might be very exciting for our team to get involved with. Now, I will say our exploration team is being recognized as one of the top growing talented technical teams, and we're getting other companies who don't have as many geologists or strong geologists to partner with us to get us asking us to do work on some of their projects. So that is exciting. So we are looking at other opportunities going into 2023 as well. So watch for news on that in the future.
Well, guys, thank you so much. I've learned a vast amount about your company in a very short space of time. No pressure, Sean. You've just got to hone those targets, get those we'll accept 2 or 3 discoveries out of the top 5% or out of the top 5. But that's a hugely exciting drill program coming up on Davidson River on the flagship. So that'll be great.
It's wonderful, and it's a fantastic time for new investors to hear our story and figure out that we've got an incredible opportunity here to make a high-grade discovery. And for a company of our size to make a potential, Arrow 2.0 would be a huge win for shareholders.
It certainly would. Gentlemen, really nice meeting you and talking to you over the dreaded Zoom, but potentially in the future in person. Good luck with your work programs during the course of 2022 and success this year, and may it lead on to an even better 2023.
That sounds great. Thanks for taking the time to hear our story, Merlin. And I look forward to hopefully meeting you in person in London when I'm over there for the WNA in September. So hopefully you're around.
Great. I'll be there.
All right. Take care.